Hello guys, it's Revolution. In this video we're going to be discussing what exactly is the Prince of all Saiyans, Vegeta's most powerful attack. By that I mean which move or attack or technique does the most damage to the opponent. Now Vegeta has a whole arsenal of powerful techniques at his disposal, including the Gallic Gun, the Big Bang Attack, the Final Flash, the Final Explosion, the Gamma Burst, you name it. Vegeta loves coming up with fancy new moves in order to defeat the oncoming threat or the antagonist at that time. But which move exactly is Vegeta's most powerful? Of course guys, I'm going to want all your input down below in the comment section. Which move do you think is Vegeta's most powerful? Obviously we'll discuss it in depth in this video, but ultimately I want to know what your initial view of Vegeta's attacks are and which one is your favourite. Which one do you like seeing Vegeta use the most? I'd like to know that too. So obviously Vegeta debuted in the Saiyan saga in Dragon Ball Z. He fought against Goku on planet Earth. So I know one argument that people may come up with, well, what about his transformations? They are technically attacks. We're not really counting transformations, so rule out Azaru, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, and of course Evolution. I know most of you won't have considered those anyway, but I'm just making sure people get the picture. I find myself more and more often putting in safety devices and caveats to make sure people truly understand what I am trying to advocate so that I don't get strawmanned or misrepresented. When certain people have agendas against you, they really love to take you out of context. So in terms of Vegeta's attacks, I guess you could call them the special moves of Vegeta at that specific time in the respective arcs. Gallic Gun for the Saiyan saga, Big Bang Attack for the Android saga, Final Flash for Cell, Final Explosion for Majin Buu. You get the picture. Vegeta's special move in the Saiyan saga was the Gallic Gun. The Gallic Gun is basically a Saiyan version of the Kamehameha. Now don't take me out of context, I'm not saying it is the Kamehameha, there are a few different properties, but ultimately it serves the same purpose. It's a beam charging technique that ultimately gets as powerful as the user charges it up, and they fire it in a very similar manner to the Kamehameha. I'm sure you remember the epic beam struggle between Vegeta and Goku in the Saiyan saga when facing off with the Kamehameha and the Gallic Gun. Now, the Kamehameha has been known to amp Goku's power. We saw this specifically against Raditz, and we've seen other situations since then as well. It's unknown whether Vegeta's Gallic Gun actually amps Vegeta's power. You would imagine so, but the Gallic Gun didn't amp Vegeta's power above Goku's in the Saiyan saga, but Goku was simultaneously using the Kaioken at that time, and as far as we know, Goku cannot amp his power using the Kaioken and the Kamehameha at the same time, as we saw against Frieza, when Frieza was using 50% of his power, so 60 million, and Goku was using the Kaioken times 20. The Kamehameha he used in that arc didn't put Frieza down for the count. So this is what the Daizenshu had to say about the Gallic Gun. It even calls it Vegeta's version of the Kamehameha. The difference between it and the Kamehameha is the hand position when shooting out the ki. He thrusts out the palm towards his opponent and fires it as if pushing out the ki. The ki as the two palms then becomes a single powerful current. Of course, Goku went on to continuously improve his Kamehameha or his Super Kamehameha. Some people even think he now uses a God Kamehameha, which amps his power even further. Whereas Vegeta went on to learn different types of techniques and attacks that basically spawned from the idea of the Gallic Gun. The Daizenshu states this about the Big Bang Attack that Vegeta used against the androids for the first time. First, he sticks one hand out in front, then emits a ki blast from the palm of that hand. This ki is condensed down into one big lump and can deal heavy damage inside one specific range. It states, a ki wave which Vegeta fired at Android 19. This technique, which easily destroyed Android 19, could be said to be Super Saiyan Vegeta's version of the Gallic Gun, which is basically the Gallic Gun. However, the differences between it and the Gallic Gun are the way of firing it and the shape of the ki, in contrast with the Gallic Gun, which attacks a wide range. After the Big Bang was fired, the ground was wiped out from the spot where Android 19 was, as if it had been hollowed out. This effectiveness made it Vegeta's strongest attack at the time. So basically it's an adaptation or an evolution of the Gallic Gun, and it's basically used for maximizing the damage on an area of effect. It's much more specific in the amount of damage it deals to a specific area of the target. So what we can conclude from this is basically the Gallic Gun and the Big Bang Attack, very similar in the amount of power each one expels. They both technically have the same attacking potency, but it's just dealing with a much smaller target. Then you want to use the Big Bang Attack to the area it wants to deal damage to. Of course, the Daizenshu even mentions that Vegeta condenses his ki into a small area, and as we know from Dragon Ball, there's many instances where you can say condensing ki into a small area causes an expansion in ki effect. As many people refer to it, ki amping techniques. So I bet you're asking, well, neither of these techniques are in the title of the video, but I just wanted to go over them first because it gives you an idea on how to move on to these next attacks. Of course, the next major special move Vegeta demonstrated was the final flash against Cell. The Daizenshu states this: Super Vegeta's super special attack, concentrating all the ki in his body into both his hands. He fires it at his opponent. As he concentrates his ki enters a state of electrical discharge, distorting the surrounding atmosphere and drawing everything in. Its rate of energy depletion is high, and it can only be fired in a state surpassing the limits of Super Saiyan. It has enough force to easily destroy the Earth, and Vegeta is able to narrow its attack range by aiming it. This technique blew away the upper right portion of Cell's body. Of course, if you remember that specific arc, you'll know that Cell was in his perfect Cell state. He was far more powerful than Grade 2 Super Saiyan Vegeta at that time. What this tells us is that this is definitely a power amping technique, and it amped Vegeta's ki way beyond his own actual power, otherwise it wouldn't have done such damage to Cell. Now, this wasn't a sneak attack and it wasn't at close range. This attack was from a distance. Cell knew it was coming, he had his defenses ready, and it still did this damage. So it's not like a surprise attack that we recently saw Goku use on Moro 7-3. The Daizenshu literally calls this attack Vegeta's super special attack. So that tells us enough to know that this move is much more powerful than the Big Bang attack. If you didn't know, now you know. We also got to see this attack again against Jiren in the Tournament of Power in the anime, where Jiren once again does what Cell does. It was basically paying homage to that specific instance in the Cell arc, where Jiren stays still and he takes the attack dead on. Vegeta powers up his final flash, and his power is amping beyond his own actual power. Belmod starts to freak out. Goku can't believe that Vegeta's ki is rising so high. Piccolo also chimes in, stating Vegeta's power is rising. It's a power amping technique basically. How much does it amp his power by exactly? That's hard to know. What we do know is that it wouldn't have been enough to say destroy Majin Buu, who was relative to Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who would have been 4 times more powerful than Majin Vegeta. So you have to say it's in the 2 times to 4 times range in terms of power amping, at least in the Buu saga. Maybe it got better from there on, but that's speculation. And of course it probably also relies on the amount of time Vegeta spends charging it. He spent a lot of time charging the final flash against Cell and Jiren, whereas we have seen him use it separately where he doesn't seem to charge it, and they generally have little to no effect as opposed to the charged final flashes. So on to the final explosion that Vegeta first used against Fat Buu in the Buu saga. The Daizenshu calls it final last attack, but it's often referred to by the fandom as the final explosion, sometimes the final atonement. Anyway, what it states about the final explosion is, Vegeta brought this out in order to defeat Majin Buu in exchange for his own life. It's the ultimate self-destruction technique, which explodes all the energy in his body, enveloping the opponent. It creates a crater-shaped depression with a 1 kilometer diameter around the user, and had enough frightful power to affect the Earth. So it's pretty much self-explanatory really. This uses all of the ki in Vegeta's body and explodes it all at once. If the opponent is caught in that vicinity, they are likely to feel the force of all of Vegeta's ki exploding at once. Obviously Vegeta felt that this attack was needed against Majin Buu as opposed to the final flash, which pretty much tells us that it's more powerful than the final flash. Of course, it comes at a price, and that is his own death. However, in Dragon Ball Super, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta used this against God of Destruction Toppo and knocked him out of the arena, and Vegeta survived using the final explosion. Now this only happened in the anime. It's a Toei technique to survive the final explosion. Whether he can survive it in the Dragon Ball Super manga is a different story, and personally I don't really like the fact that he used this attack in the Tournament of Power anyway, but that's just my own personal opinion. But he can survive this attack, but it leaves him severely weakened. Even Jiren commented on his wounds, and naturally, he would have been exhausted from using a technique that big. There seems to be a contingent out there who seem to believe that these Dragon Ball characters no longer tire after using big moves. Honestly, it's almost like they've never watched Dragon Ball. For any of those people debating these people in the comment section, don't bother, because if they don't understand that these characters tire out, they clearly haven't watched Dragon Ball. Don't punch down. But once again, what we do know is that the final explosion didn't quite fully destroy Majin Buu, a character who could compete with Super Saiyan 3 Goku. And from the Super Exciting guides, we know that Super Saiyan 3 is 4 times that of Super Saiyan 2, and as we know, Majin Vegeta in Super Saiyan 2 was pretty much equal to Super Saiyan 2 Goku. However, in Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta started using a technique called the Gamma Burst Flash. Now this technique amps Vegeta's power enormously. We first see him use it against merged Zamasu in chapter 25 of the Dragon Ball Super manga. We also see him use it again against Jiren in chapter 42. In both cases, you could argue Vegeta was severely weakened, but against merged Zamasu he was at least able to use Super Saiyan Blue, and this move blew merged Zamasu to pieces. And it wasn't just one merged Zamasu, it was 2 merged Zamasu. He blew them both to pieces. Now, Vegeta in base did manage to blow off merged Zamasu's arm with a beam attack. Of course, Vegeta Blue went on to absolutely rickroll merged Zamasu until he defused. But we got completed Super Saiyan Goku, who tried to Hakai merge Zamasu, and it seemed like it was working. It was destroying Zamasu's body, and he brought Mai into it, and it stopped Goku using the Hakai destruction technique. Beerus did confirm that that kind of thing won't work against an immortal anyway. But ultimately, completed Super Saiyan Blue Goku alone didn't manage to cause as much destruction with his own power on merged Zamasu as Vegeta's Super Saiyan Blue Gamma Burst Flash. And once again, it must be noted that Vegeta was nowhere near full power. He could turn Super Saiyan Blue, but he was in a weakened state, as alluded to by future Trunks. So basically, using this technique allowed Vegeta to concentrate his power to higher than completed Super Saiyan Blue levels from Super Saiyan Blue. We don't know what that multiplier is, but obviously it's much more powerful, as we saw completed Super Saiyan Blue Goku compete against merged Zamasu. Whereas with regular Super Saiyan Blue, he was just getting finessed. So basically, we can see that Vegeta's power amps massively using the Gamma Burst Flash, but is it more powerful than the final Flash? The original Flash, you could say. Well, the Gamma Burst Flash seems to be like a amalgamation of both the Final Flash and the Gallic Gun. He seems to use a double Gallic Gun and charges it into a Final Flash-like beam. The Gamma Burst Ray seems to be more of a swift move, where he looks to unleash it quickly to catch the opponent by surprise, whereas the more powerful versions of the Final Flashes are charged and concentrated into an area of effect, very similar to that of the Big Bang. So whilst you could call the Final Flash an evolution of the Big Bang attack, you could call the Gamma Burst Ray an evolution of the Gallic Gun. There is no way to really decipher which attack or technique is more powerful out of the Final Flash and Gamma Burst Flash due to the lack of information, but I would say that the Gamma Burst Flash is a more useful technique and has more power than a non-charged Final Flash, whereas when Vegeta charges a Final Flash, it would use pretty much nigh all of his power, not quite every ounce of his power like the Final Explosion, which makes the Final Explosion his most powerful attack, but it takes him time to charge the Final Flash, which obviously leaves him open to attack, which is why he needs to goad his opponents to literally standing in one spot. The Gamma Burst Flash he can use in impromptu moments and raise his power dramatically without obviously self-destructing by using the Final Explosion. So, he's still able to fight afterwards. The Final Flash still might be Vegeta's second most powerful move, but it takes time to charge, and you could argue, well, what if he charged the Gamma Burst Flash? Obviously this is hypothetical because we haven't seen him do so, but if he does, then I imagine that it might even surpass the Final Flash. Of course, Vegeta's newest technique for Spirit Fishing, which he learned on Yardrat in the Moro arc, isn't quite a destructive move in the same sense as the attacks that we've mentioned. It takes energy from the opponent rather than does damage to the opponent. Of course, he does have to deliver damage in order for it to work, but as far as we know, it only works against fused or assimilated opponents. Anyway guys, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoy. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Anything you think I've missed or anything you don't agree with, or if you do agree with me, let me know. If you have any more video suggestions in terms of moves versus other moves, let me know down in the comment section. Be sure to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy these Dragon Ball videos. There's plenty more to come. Keep smashing that like button, keep lending the die shanking your energy. Until next time, Ad Astra.